Welcome to Cinepro, where we bring your favorite movies back to life with quick recaps, hidden details, and everything you missed. The events begin today at the port in the city of Shango with the professional killer Sakata, who is sharpening his favorite sword. He is in a room filled with all kinds of weapons, eats a piece of candy, then puts on his jacket, takes his car, and starts moving. At this time, we go to the Konogumi Yakuza gang and see its boss eating while one of his men, named Kaneko, talks to him. They learn that the workers at the port are upset about the gang's control over them and can no longer follow orders. We return to the gang boss, who calls Kaneko over, and as soon as he approaches, the boss grabs him by the neck and cuts his mouth with a knife for daring to speak disrespectfully. Kaneko screams in pain, and before the boss moves away, Sakata attacks the boss's guards and kills them with great strength, skill, and mastery in martial arts. The boss tries to escape, but finds that Sakata has finished off all his men. The boss grabs his assistant and attacks Sakata, and a fierce fight breaks out between them. But Sakata's skill is unmatched, and with one strike, he cuts off the assistant's arm with his sword. Kaneko is still there, witnessing everything but hiding behind a wall. Sakata approaches the gang boss and finishes him off with his sword, thus completing his mission. Afterward, Sakata goes to meet his friend Akira, who is the one giving him the jobs he carries out. Sakata returns home, and as soon as his daughter Ryo hears his voice, she runs to him. Sakata is happy with his family and tells his wife he will look for a new job. His wife is glad he has left the path of evil and tells him they should celebrate. Sakata goes to change his clothes, but suddenly hears his wife scream. He rushes downstairs and is shocked to find a masked gang of 5 people in his house, threatening to kill his wife and daughter. Sakata's daughter moves, and one of the gang grabs her forcefully. Sakata gets angry and attacks him, but then one of the gang, wearing a scary red mask, fires a gun. Sakata is forced to surrender himself in exchange for them not hurting his wife and daughter. They all mock him. The man beating Sakata, wearing a wolf mask, gets angry and shoots Sakata's wife in the head, killing her instantly. Sakata loses his mind and can't move. He tells Ryo to run, but before she can, their leader shoots her. Sakata is left in shock, seeing his wife and daughter lying in front of him covered in blood. The man with the red mask grabs Sakata and tells their leader that in Shango City, a demon appears every 50 years. 12 years later, we see Sakata in a wheelchair, unable to move or speak, as if he is in another world. Akira picks him up from prison, and we learn that doctors saved his life after removing the bullet, but unfortunately, he was imprisoned for the murder of his wife and daughter. At the same time, we see Tsunohara, the mayor of Shango City, at a press conference talking about his achievements for the city. The presenter tells him that Shango City has changed a lot thanks to him, becoming a tourist city with a stronger economy and lower unemployment. Tsunohara explains that he, Ako, accomplished all this through hard work, effort, and the courage of citizens who endured the city's difficult circumstances. Then Akira takes Sakata to the Shango Industrial Complex, apologizes for the state of the room, and promises to find a better place. The driver cleans Sakata, changes his clothes, and gets a barber to cut his hair. Akira asks the driver to take Sakata out from time to time so he doesn't get bored. At night, the driver takes Sakata for a walk, and on their way back, they are attacked by the Yakuza boss's former assistant, whose arm Sakata had cut off. The assistant stabs Sakata in the arm, but the driver tries to explain that Sakata can't hear or see him. The assistant loses his mind and leaves. The journalist Kamiyama then meets Kaneko in his car to get information about Tsunohara. Kaneko tells him that the gang that eliminated the Konogumi Yakuza 12 years ago because of their control over the port is called Kimin-gumi, but he has never seen them. Since then, they have taken over all the entrances and exits of the city's port, including the Maruba Resort. At the same time, we see Akira playing football and recalling Sakata's retirement day, and we learn that he was the one who told the Kiminjomi gang that Sakata was retiring for his family. He then gets a call from the driver telling him what happened. After that, the police chief goes to the hospital to investigate Sakata himself, and we learn that the driver was taken to the hospital to treat his injury. The chief bribes the detectives guarding the door and approaches Sakata to see if he remembers him. Here, we are surprised to see the chief wearing the old man's mask, revealing he is one of the Kiminjomi gang members. As soon as Sakata sees the mask, its eyes move on their own and look at him. The chief fills a syringe with poison and injects it into Sakata's IV, telling him that when they found out he was still alive, they wanted to kill him, but their boss forbade them from approaching him. The chief takes out his phone to record Sakata's death for their boss, but is shocked when Sakata attacks him. Sakata's body is weak and frail. Sakata leaves the hospital on foot, and the driver is shocked by what he sees. Akira orders him to move quickly. They go to a waste factory, which is actually a drug factory, where many girls are forced to work, packing drugs. We then go to the factory owner, who is wearing a mask, and learn he is one of the Kiminjomi gang. Afterwards, Akira goes to the waste factory and delivers Sakata's body to the guards. Sakata starts attacking the factory owner's men one by one, finishing them off. When the owner sees what's happening on the surveillance cameras, he realizes Akira betrayed him and quickly calls the guard at the gate, ordering him to kill Akira. The guard shoots the driver and fires randomly at Akira. Meanwhile, Sakata fights an army of the factory owner's men, defeating them all with strength and skill without tiring. The owner comes down from his office, and as soon as he enters the yard, he blows up the place with Sakata inside. Their boss sees the explosion, calls the owner to console him and assures him he will compensate him. As they talk, the owner sees Sakata walking out of the fire alive. Before he can shoot him, Akira hits the owner with his car and apologizes to Sakata, saying that informing the gang about his retirement was the reason his wife and daughter died. At that moment, Sakata is shot in the head, and the owner hangs him up and keeps beating him to make him reveal his boss's location. But the owner realizes it's useless because Sakata swore an oath not to talk. When he reaches his apartment, he is shocked to find a board with pictures of his daughter from when she was little, realizing this man raised her after taking her from him. He stands in place and calls for Ryo, who thinks he is a criminal. The prosecutor arrives, claiming to be her father. As soon as he sees Sakata, he attacks him, and they fight. When the prosecutor calls him by name, Sakata recalls the moment his wife died and realizes the wolf-masked man killed her. Ryo intervenes to save her father and shoots Sakata in the chest with an arrow. The masked man takes the opportunity and throws Sakata out the window. The red-masked man arrives, kidnaps Ryo. Yoshi shows up, and Sakata takes his car from the deserted place. He starts to pull the arrow out of his body, and when he checks Sunohara's building cameras, he finds out that Yoshi was the police deputy chief. He calls him to talk to Sakata, so they find out that his daughter is with him, and he tells him to come to the resort if he wants her to stay alive, and starts driving until he reaches the resort. He enters the car first, and when Sunohara's men see it, they approach it and are shocked to find that he's not inside. At that moment, Sakata is fighting with Sunohara's men and kills many of them. The man with the wolf mask sees him on the surveillance cameras and prepares his weapon to finish him off. After a long fight between Sakata and Sunohara's men, the masked man with the wolf mask appears, and they get into a very intense fight. He provokes him by confessing his love for Rei. Sakata attacks him with his favorite sword and keeps hitting him until he stabs him in the eye with a white weapon and stabs him in the stomach with a knife, thinking he's dead. Then he goes up to Sunohara's office, and as soon as he sees Rei, he confesses to her that he's her father and reminds her of himself. But suddenly, the masked man with the red mask appears and stabs him in the stomach with his weapon, knocking him to the ground. Then he takes them to Sunohara. Sunohara draws his sword, and before he kills Rei, Sakata begs him to let her go and tells her to run quickly. Here, Rishi arrives and shoots Sunohara's men, and Rei takes the chance to run and remembers her mother's day and realizes that he's her real father. At that time, Sakata gets up and starts fighting the masked man with the red mask. Honestly, he's very strong and skilled in combat, but Sakata manages to overcome him and punches him in the stomach, knocking him to the ground. Here, Sunohara comes down again, removes the mask from the masked man's face, and we find out that he is Jin, his twin brother, but the difference between them is the burn marks on his face. We also find out that he made him kill the master who taught them martial arts and used him for personal gain. Sunohara puts on a mask and gets into a sword fight with Sakata. The fight intensifies to the point that Sunohara cuts off his hand, but Sakata doesn't care about the pain and continues fighting until he manages to finish him off. Sunohara realizes that Sakata is the demon Shing, the one the legend spoke about. Rei arrives, and as soon as Sakata sees her, he stands in disbelief that she's alive. But unfortunately, the masked man with the wolf mask is still alive and shoots him, telling him that Rei belongs to him and only him. Rei is frightened by him and tells him that she was finally able to recognize him and that he is the criminal who killed her mother. At this moment, Sakata appears from behind and cuts off his head with his sword, falling into Rei's arms. Ray begs him not to die in her arms and to stay by her side, but unfortunately, he dies. Then the police cars and ambulances arrive, and we notice that someone among them is still alive. Suddenly, Ray disappears from the ambulance. After a year passes, we see Jin impersonating Sunohara and talking about his achievements. Then he goes to the Kung Fu school where he learned martial arts, puts on his brother's mask, and starts training with a sword. Suddenly, Ray arrives and shoots him with an arrow, finishing him off. She leaves, driving her father Sakata's car. And with that, today's events come to an end. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you get all our new content. Stay tuned for the next summary.